Everything you've been told about calories might be incomplete. Two people can eat the exact same 2,000 calories a day, and one of them stores it as fat while the other builds lean muscle. Same number, completely different outcome. Today, I'm breaking down the real science behind why that happens, and it has almost nothing to do with counting calories and everything to do with three systems in your body most people never think about. Let's start with a myth that needs to die. A calorie is just a calorie. Technically, that's true for energy balance. Calories in versus calories out does determine whether you gain or lose weight overall. But calories alone don't determine what that weight loss or gain is made of. Here's the real mechanism. Your macronutrient ratio determines body composition, even at the same calorie total. If you eat a high-carb, low-protein diet, your body tends to store more of that surplus as fat. But if you eat a higher protein diet at the same calorie level, your body redirects more of that intake toward building and preserving muscle, especially if you're training. Why? Because protein is highly satiating. It reduces hunger signals far more than carbohydrates do. Carbs, especially refined ones, spike your blood sugar quickly, and when that spike crashes back down, your body interprets that crash as a signal to eat again. That's the hunger roller coaster most dieters blame on willpower, when it's actually biochemistry. So the real question isn't just, how many calories am I eating? It's, what are those calories made of, and how is my body going to use them? Here's something most diet advice completely ignores. Muscle tissue is the single biggest metabolic sink in your entire body. Think of your muscle as a sponge for glucose. When you eat carbohydrates, your muscle tissue is first in line to absorb that glucose and use it for fuel or storage as glycogen. The more muscle you have, the bigger that sponge is, which means your body can handle carbohydrate intake far more efficiently without converting the excess into fat. This is why two people with identical diets can have wildly different results. Someone with more lean muscle mass has more metabolic storage capacity for the food they eat. Someone with less muscle has less capacity, so more of what they eat gets shuttled toward fat storage instead. This is also why strength training, not cardio, tends to be the single most impactful thing you can do for long-term fat loss. It's not just about burning calories during the workout, it's about building the metabolic infrastructure that determines how your body handles food for the other 23 hours of the day. Let's talk about something that might change how you think about cheat meals forever. When you go on a calorie-restricted diet for an extended period, your body doesn't stay static, it adapts. Your basal metabolic rate, the number of calories you burn just existing, actually drops to match your new lower intake. Your body becomes more efficient at running on less fuel. Here's the problem. Most people don't adjust their cheat meals to reflect that adaptation. If you used to eat 2,000 calories a day and treated yourself to a 1,000 calorie cheat meal, that made sense at your old metabolic rate. But if your body has now adapted down to a 1,000 calorie baseline metabolism, that exact same cheat meal can have double the fat storage impact it used to. This is because your muscle, remember, the biggest metabolic sink, has also adapted downward during the restriction. Less muscle capacity means more of that cheat meal gets diverted toward fat storage instead of being absorbed and used productively. The takeaway: your cheat meals should scale down proportionally to how much your metabolism has adapted during a diet, not stay fixed at what they used to be.
There's a fascinating pattern you see in elite athletes that illustrates a concept called metabolic flexibility, your body's ability to efficiently switch between burning fat and burning carbohydrates for fuel, depending on what's available. Some athletes report shockingly simple diets: lean proteins, vegetables, healthy fats, minimal processed food, and very little in the way of empty carbohydrates, while performing at an elite physical level on relatively modest calorie intake. What's notable isn't the specific foods, it's the pattern. Whole, minimally processed foods, consistent protein intake, and virtually zero ultra-processed ingredients. This tells us something important. It's often not about adding more supplements or superfoods to your diet. It's about subtracting the processed, engineered foods that confuse your body's natural hunger and satiety signals in the first place. When you strip those out, your body becomes remarkably good at regulating itself. You've probably heard about GLP-1 medications and their popularity for weight loss. They can be a genuinely useful tool, but there's a critical piece missing from most conversations about them. When someone loses weight rapidly on these medications, without strength training, they're often trading fat loss for muscle loss at the same time. The scale goes down, but a significant portion of that loss is lean muscle tissue, not just fat. That's a problem, because as we covered earlier, muscle is your metabolic sink. Losing it makes long-term weight maintenance harder, not easier. The people who see the best long-term outcomes with these medications are the ones who pair them with resistance training and adequate protein intake, using the medication to control appetite while actively working to preserve and build muscle at the same time. Used as a tool alongside the fundamentals, not a replacement for them, is where the real results happen. Let's bring this together into 5 things you can actually apply starting today. 1. Prioritize strength training. It builds the muscle that acts as your body's metabolic buffer against fat storage. 2. Eat a higher protein diet. It's more satiating, helps preserve muscle, and reduces the hunger spikes that come from high-carb eating. 3. Consider a structured eating window, like intermittent fasting, to help naturally reduce total caloric intake without obsessive tracking. 4. Get baseline blood work done. Deficiencies in things like vitamin D, magnesium, or omega-3s can quietly sabotage your progress even when your diet looks correct on paper. 5. Cut back on processed foods and excess refined carbs. Focus on whole, single-ingredient foods your body actually recognizes and knows how to use efficiently. None of this requires extreme restriction or complicated tracking systems. It requires understanding what your body is actually doing with the food you give it, and building the muscle and habits that make fat loss work with your biology instead of against it. If you want more science-backed breakdowns like this, subscribe, because we're just getting started.